8 miles. That's how far I made it after leaving the mechanic shop before my truck burst into flames. I opened the door and bent down and saw flames licking out from underneath. I grabbed a few items and then, just like in the movies, I calmly walked away. But here's the thing, the real fire in my business wasn't the truck, it was how I was spending my time, putting out everyone else's fires. But while, my own life, my health, my relationships, they were all breaking down on the side of the road. So today I'm going to show the framework that changed everything. So stick with me here. There'll be some important but not urgent items that you'll need to take care of during your business journey. Just like one would have a mechanic look over their vehicle and address any repairs before a major trip, one would want to spend time accordingly to address important and urgent items that arise either in their life or business. This would include taking care of your body. If you do not exercise or eat properly, the chances of reaching your destination, they're minimized. But let's say you did make your destination in an unhealthy, overweight body, would you really enjoy yourself? This is the only body you get, so take care of it. Love it, minimize the stress and the abuse that it receives. Think of it as getting one car for life. Pick any car you want. What do you want it to look like? Knowing that this is the only car that you'll ever own, hopefully you'll take care of it. Would you drive it cautiously, or are you going to drive it like you stole it? Are you going to keep it polished, looking nice? Or are you going to address any issues, say rust spots or tears in the seat? Or are you just going to let it deteriorate until it has no value? Think of your body like that car you imagined. It's a urgent matter to tend to your body, to take care of it, love it, mostly just so it gives you many years of faithful, dependable service. Other important but non-urgent items with your car would be, say, changing the oil, date night with your spouse, continuing education, spending quality time with your children. This is important because if the oil is not changed periodically, it would cause the engine failure. And of course, it'll do it when you need it most. Not working on your relationships could cause unnecessary stress, possible loss of those relationships. And not continually educating yourself so you remain ignorant and not grow yourself or even your business to the desired size that you want. Take care of important things in your life. With your journey, you will want well-maintained vehicles and equipment, so you're able to serve your customers. I had a truck that was leaking transmission fluid. It wasn't an urgent issue, but I knew it would be urgent if I ignored it. Plus, it was just making a mess on job sites and stuff. Since improper vehicle care would cause it to be broken down or stranded on the side of the road when I most needed it, I went ahead and scheduled this maintenance item. The mechanic shop found that a damaged transmission line was there, so I agreed to have them replace it. They replaced the transmission line. The next day, I paid for it and picked it up, and I drove away. Only 8 miles later, after leaving the mechanic shop, the truck engine began to, say, rev up, but I had less power. So that's kind of pointing to the transmission slipping, or it doesn't have fluid in it. I pulled the truck over to the side of the road and, opened the door, and I remember, leaning over to look under to see what was going on, and flames started, licking up right there in the doorway. So, I reached back, for some important items in the truck, and, I calmly walked away from this burning truck like those in the movies, waiting for the big fiery explosion. But dang, there was no explosion. I was prepared not to flinch when the truck blew up, in the background, and hopefully I was hoping someone got a picture of it, right when it blew up. But the flame burn out. Oh well. I had mixed feelings. I had the truck for sale at the time. It's like, well, that's an easy way to sell the truck. I just, I have to turn it in for insurance. But it went out, and find out the new transmission line was installed incorrectly, and it popped off. And transmission fluid, if you didn't know, is very flammable, and it was spraying on the hot exhaust, which caught the transmission fluid on fire. But thankfully, the fire went out on its own. This now became an important and even urgent matter to get it fixed, because now I'm on the side of the road, broken down. I can't leave it there. The city would tow it away. So by scheduling this maintenance item, I was trying to avoid something like this, an urgent and important issue. But I still end up having one. So to ignore an urgent and an important matter can be, catastrophic. And an urgent and important issue cannot be shelved to a later date. If the truck is broken down on the side of the road, it needs to be, at least towed away, just so the city doesn't tow it and it gets put in a tow lot. Then you're paying daily just to get your own vehicle back. Another item, say if it's tax day, the taxes must be done on that day, or you need to have an extension requested. Not doing so will cause issues. If a family member is in the emergency room with life-threatening illness, you cannot say, hey, I'll check on you next week. But rather, you need to see them immediately if possible. There are times that urgent items will arise, but they're not necessarily important. Usually these urgent matters are brought by someone else. They're not directly important to you, but they can prevent you from achieving your goals if you engage. This is usually brought about by that surprise visit, people bringing their urgent matters for you to fix. There was a time that I did snow removal, and I even had, I mostly did commercial, but for a time I did residential. And one Christmas, I think it's probably at least 15 years ago, it snowed a lot that morning. I think it started like at 4 or 5 in the morning, and it just dumped really quick. And all the city snowplows, they were behind the ball, and the main road in town is a highway, and the state made a little effort to clear it. But what they pushed to every side road. So any side road coming to this highway, they had 2-foot mounds of snow to get through. And, that morning in the snow, I had 4-wheel drive, and, even had the snow plow where I could move snow out of my way, and I still struggled to get around that morning. So I'm going around, my commercial accounts could wait till later, but I did agree to take care of some residential customers so they could have their Christmas dinner. And then, I even did some family and friends so they could have theirs. So, my goal was to get these done, to serve my customers, make some money, and then get to my own family's Christmas dinner. And as I remember, I was going up the highway there, and at every intersection was cars stuck in snow. And then many of these drivers, they saw a snowplow truck coming, and they jumped out there waving me, flagging me down, in their urgent situation. But, I could tell no one was hurt. It wasn't my emergency. I just, waved and continued to my goal of finishing my route and then going to my own family's Christmas dinner. It'd been easy to get stuck or hit by another car, trying to help someone. In this mess, it was really dangerous out there. And then if that would have happened, I wouldn't have been able to serve my customers. I couldn't have made money, and ultimately I wouldn't have made it to my own Christmas dinner. So it was Christmas morning. Call me mean, a cruel person, call me the Grinch. But it wasn't my emergency. Once you learn to identify these urgent but non-important items, you'll be able to quickly navigate your life toward your goals. There's also the not important and not urgent things that arise. These can be called time wasters, distractions, really things that need to be avoided if possible. Now, I'm not talking about rest and relaxation, because that is needed from time to time. But I'm pointing to the unimportant items. That would include emptying email trash, giving thumbs up to every social media comment, looking at your phone every time it dings. As I do these videos, I have to put my phone on silent because otherwise it'd be dinging, because I got multiple emails and, people messaging me, and it'd just be too distracting. I used to be the worst about this. I'm still not the greatest, but I'd spend hours a day between clearing emails in my inbox, or every time the phone ding, I would look at it. These time wasters alone can fill a day. You could be busy all day chasing these things, but at the end of the day, you're no closer to your goal, and you didn't even make any money in the process. So manage this section really the most by only allowing a certain amount of time for these non-important things, these non-urgent items. Delegate them where you can. Eliminate them if you can. Yes, I said that. Do not do them if they distract from your goals. Say it with me. No. You can say no. Think back to that car that I had you imagine at the beginning of this chapter. I want you properly maintained so that car can ultimately get to that desired destination. Looking great with really plenty of life left still in it. You don't want to pull up in that car, it's overheating and steaming and limping along and looks horrible just to get you to your destination. What good is that? So we want you looking great with plenty of life left, and this can only be done by understanding what is truly important and what is truly urgent in your life. So thanks for watching.